we're going to go with Deloris Jordan. You have the floor, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. In addition to being an author and inspirational speaker and Michael Jordan's older sister, I'm a mother of 3 and a grandmother of 5. And so a mother to 1 son and a grandmother to 2 grandsons. And, I would like to think that I have to just worry, not that I want to worry, but have to worry about what it means for my son and my grandson. But with the Breonna Taylor situation, and that wasn't a male at all. So now you have to come into play. What does it mean for my children and my grandchildren?
Next, we're going to go with Attorney Ozzie Fumo. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My name is Ozzie Fumo. I've been a practicing attorney in Las Vegas for the last 24 years. I practice everything from state cases to federal jury trials, argued in front of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm a current Assemblyman with the Nevada State Legislature, and I had a bill introduced to reduce cash bail for defendants. It went nowhere, but the Supreme Court actually took the language in my bill in 2017 and made it law. And so I had another bill to hold police accountable and district attorneys accountable for what they do when they hide evidence, like they did in the Central Park 5 case, like they did with the Duke lacrosse players in North Carolina, and it didn't even get a hearing here, but hopefully the Supreme Court will take up something like that. I just want to hold everybody, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, police force, criminal, everybody should be accountable. But here in Las Vegas and in Nevada, we don't seem to hold the authorities accountable. And I'm fearful that things that happened to George Floyd and things that happened in that movie can happen here, because we don't hold our electeds and our district attorneys and our law enforcement accountable for their actions.
Now I'm going to go to Attorney Kevin Speed. You have the floor, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Speed. I've been practicing law in this city for 16 years, going on 17 years now. My entire career has been spent with the Clark County Public Defender's Office, save a little bit after my judicial clerkship when I worked in private practice. Like Mr. Fumo, I've seen these kinds of things happen, and unfortunately, it happens most often to defendants of color and poor people, the people who are least advantaged and the least served. I believe there was a scene in the film where the attorney, the character played by the actor Michael Jordan, was saying that it's reflective of our country and what we're made of, what we try to hold ourselves out to be, not how we treat the rich and the privileged, but how we treat the poor and the least of these in the book of Matthew. I have seen the movie before. I've worked in indigent defense my whole career, and I was emotionally taken aback during the scene when Mr. McMillan's case was reversed by the Court of Appeals in Alabama, and he looked over to his lawyer and asked what the judge's ruling meant. And she was pronouncing that he would be released from death row after years of confinement and imprisonment and trauma, basically, for a crime that he didn't commit. And he looked over to his attorney and asked him, what did that mean? What did that mean? And that's when the courtroom erupted in euphoria. And that was probably the most gripping scene for me as a public defender and a person who has sat in that chair with people who've been accused of things that are unspeakable. And there's no one to shield them, to protect them from an unfair justice system, a very often unfair justice system, except an attorney and a team of people who are dedicated to making sure that the least advantaged people receive the full measure of justice that they've been promised by this country. And so it's an honor. It's a pleasure to sit and speak with everyone this evening. And I hope that we can come up with some solutions, or at least answer some questions that people have had about what we do going forward.
I would like to go ahead and welcome Miguel Núñez, actor Miguel Núñez. Go ahead, if you'd like to, we let all the other panelists give their opening statements and introduction on how they felt about the movie, and talk a little bit about the current events that are going on in our country right now.
I love the movie, and I think it emphasized one of the most important things that's going on outside, and I think it's the institutionalization of racism. It's not just the cops, and we're concentrated and focused on the cops. Every time their cop does something illegal or has gotten away with something illegal, there's been a DA, a racist DA behind them to have allowed it to happen, to not press the charges. It is institutionalized. It's just like he said in the film. He said, the people will say I did it, and they'll say I did it, and it's exactly what's been going on. It's not about justice. It's about getting 12 white people in a neighborhood who are prone to convict this person. Not whether they're guilty or not. Whoever I can get, as long as they're black, that I can convince these 12 people to say, yeah, it's not been about justice. And what we're seeing right now is black folks have just ran out of cheeks to turn. You're supposed to turn the other cheeks, and they've just ran out of it.
From your position, do you believe systemic racism exists today?
Oh, very much so. We can see that, I think, by the prisons. When you think about that, the majority of the prisoners are black, and some of them, not all of them, but some of them are there having not committed a crime at all. And not so long ago, I think we were looking at this gentleman who had just served 37 years. I saw him on a show, I think a couple of weeks ago, when he was singing. And he had been in prison for 37 years for a crime that he hadn't committed. So I think he's not the only one. I think there's probably quite a few of them. And again, I think in some cases we're guilty first and then have to prove our innocence. And I just don't think that's how it should be. And so I think that there's a lot of work still to be done. And until it is done, it's going to continue to be as it is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I try to do as a lawyer with all of my clients is to tell them the truth. And more often than not, and I'm sure that Ozzie can speak to this, we're the person who has to bring bad news. And what I say to my clients is, I'd rather you hear it from me than you find yourself on trial for your life and hear it from a jury who doesn't understand you, who doesn't know your story, who doesn't understand what challenges and what obstacles have been put in front of you that have prevented you from living the kind of life that more fortunate people live. Does systemic racism exist in this country? Absolutely it does.
Absolutely. I keep going back to my law practice. I practice law in Las Vegas, Nevada. In Clark County, Nevada, where Las Vegas sits, we have a black population of 26%. And I walk into those courtrooms every day, and every day, 90% of the people in chains are black and brown. And every day, I have to argue bail. And I tell these judges, it doesn't go unnoticed to me, Your Honor, and everybody else in this courtroom now, that you have 90% of the people in chains, black and brown, with only 20% in this population. And you can't tell me that that's the percentage causing all the crime. It's systemic racism from the bottom up. And we hear people say all the time, it's just one bad apple, it's just one bad seed. That's entirely untrue. It's the entire system. It is systemic racism from the ground up. The tree is rotten. It's a poisonous tree that needs to be chopped down, replanted with new rules, and educating officers how to treat people, how to make proper arrests, and do their job well, and not just attack those of black and brown color. I do capital murder cases. I represent those that are on death row. And the darker your skin, the more likely the district attorney's office is to file death against you. The lighter your skin, the easier you have it.
Something you said was really shocking. You said that the darker your skin is, the more likely it is that you would be sentenced to death. You have actually seen that firsthand, and you can kind of gauge those statistics. I mean, explain that in more detail to me.
Absolutely. Studies show. I mean, this is a nationwide trend. the more likely you are, the darker your skin, not only do you receive the death penalty, but first to be arrested, first to get arrested and charged. And then when they're evaluating the case, that's absolutely true. The darker your skin, the more the chances are higher that you're going to be sent to death row. That the state will charge you with a capital case. The lighter your skin, the less likely it is. And as I'm speaking to you now, I'm thinking I've seen this on Facebook and social media over and over and over again. You see white males who have shot up schools and shot up churches, and when they're arrested, they are in handcuffs, no marks on their face, no brutality, and black men who are accused of drunk driving, like we had in, where is it, Alabama yesterday, or another state where he was shot by the police at a Wendy's. You know, the darker your skin, the more likely you are to even be charged.
Do you feel that people are seeing some of these things, and that's what's affecting some of the change with other nationalities and other groups of people that we've seen in the protests lately?
Oh, very much so. I mean, when I look at the protests, I see a diversity of it, and to me that's a wonderful thing. I also see a lot of young people, and whites and non-blacks that's out there walking side by side. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that there's something on my website where there's this young girl, and she has taped her a conversation she's having with her parents, and she's fighting vigilantly with her parents for fairness on our behalf. And her parents are calling us black dogs. Her parents are calling us black dogs and people of no value, having no idea, who we are. That's just how they see us. And this young girl, the white girl, is in there fighting, and she's asking her mom, why are you okay with this? And if you're not okay, then fight against it.
One of the things that I caution many people against is when we watch movies. It's our new popular form of history making, of storytelling. This is going to be how people see us 100 years from now. But one of the things that we can fall prey to or fall into the trap of is classifying movies as black movies or white movies. And then you'll have subcategories of films. I'm thinking of Crazy Rich Asians, or there was a movie a few years ago, the Tyler Perry, the movie does a lot of movies, but very often you'll see lazy journalists and movie critics try to pigeonhole or classify all of his work as a black film, or all of Spike Lee's movies as a black film. And I think we have to be really careful about doing that. One of the things, and I agree with a person who said this earlier, I thought Just Mercy was a brilliant film. I believe that was Ozzie. I thought the film was brilliant. But what I would caution people against doing is classifying it as a black movie, because the leading actors are Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan. Well, if someone sees that and reads further that the film is about a wrongly accused black man in the state of Alabama who is on death row, who has to have his life given back to him by his African-American lawyer, oh, well, this must be a black movie. And we have to guard against that, because it's not about a movie being a black movie or a white movie. It's about films telling American stories. And I think that when we start to look at our filmmakers as history makers and documentarians in those situations, and not just in documentaries, but in telling stories about the way we live as Americans in the modern day, then I think movies like Just Mercy will do a lot to help educate people.
This is an American history movie. It's not a black movie. This is a movie about our American history. I think this movie and others like it should be mandatory viewing in every middle school class that studies American history. I think every high school student before they graduate should be made to watch a movie like this movie and a movie like this, every college student who studies American history and every law student, I teach trial advocacy law school, I might put this in my curriculum and make students watch movies like this. We all look at other movies like Atticus Finch, and they talked about him in the movie there, but this is a movie you should watch if you want to be a lawyer, because this is what it really is about. I teach trial advocacy at the law school. I practice every day in the courts, and this was the most realistic movie of what you're going to see. People need to not just get mad, but vote. Not just protest, but vote. Not just march, but vote. We move forward when we take action. We move forward and we evolve when we take action. And that's what we need to do. Movies like this should be mandatory viewing and encourage people to take action and vote. Get out there and let their voices be heard, because that's the only way we're going to have effective change in this country.
How do we educate others on what being a person of color in America is actually like, and keeping that experience top of mind for them?
That is a question. That's a question that is so hard for me to answer, because I don't know if you can educate somebody on what it's like to be black in America. I think it's happening before our very eyes. I think, and that is why when the young lady said she was encouraged by what she see going on, the little girl online, I was going to use that same reference myself. Little girl online yelling at her father. There are so many of these happening now. The young kids, the future. This is what's happening now is unprecedented. I've seen more togetherness now than I've ever seen before. White people, there was did you see the article where the 100 white women locked arm in arm to protect black protesters? I mean, there's so many encouraging things that's bringing us together. This incident has brought us together like never before. I think the future is going to be much, much better. Reforms in Los Angeles, the mayor just passed reforms that I never thought would be passed in the history of police reforms. I can't even begin to go through them. They're amazing. And I think it's going to follow suit. I've seen my little kids, younger kids, with the little white friends all running out protesting. I've seen just as many white folks out there protesting as black folks. I think it's happening before our very eyes. I think the little old man, white man that walked up to the police just to say something, they got knocked to the ground. I think these white folks are seeing other white folks get knocked to the ground and beat and treated like, now they're saying, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute now. When they start saying that, these guys are out of control. As long as they were just beating black folks, it was like, ooh, that's bad. Now they're seeing it happen to everybody. Okay, now they're out of control. So I think no matter what, I think it's happening before our very eyes on its own. You're starting to see what it's like. Wait a minute, okay, maybe there are still telling something. How can it be somebody every other week there's somebody? Maybe there is something to what they're saying. I think it's happening before our very eyes. I am encouraged by what I am seeing. I'm encouraged by what I see in the protests. I'm not encouraged by the looting, but I understand. I don't condone the looting. I think it dilutes from the message, right. But I understand. Right. I mean, you can't complain. I see on Fox talking about the kids are out there looting stuff. You're not looting stuff. But hold on, Fox, don't forget, you looted the black folks from Africa. Ain't nobody have no ticket. So they looted us from Africa and sold us as stuff. So now you want to complain about them looting your stuff. Okay, now I do have a problem with the looting because I think, like, again, it takes away from the entire message. But everybody hijacks and takes advantage of situations. But I think that's a horrible byproduct of riots. It always has been. But I support every bit of the riots. I support everything they're doing out there. I support burning down every police station, every police car. I know it's not right to say, but I support it because we've tried everything. If you look at the movie, he wasn't fighting against one person. He was fighting against a whole institutionalized system. In every city where I was reading, they said they had 48 incidents of the same cops killing folks in the past, and there was like years ago. Hold on. So they've been doing this for years. It's institutionalized racism. In all of those cases, there is a racist criminal DA. The cops cannot do it without racist criminal DAs. It's a system that they're fighting against. And just like the movie, he was fighting against the whole system. And then it was only when the DA got a bit of humanity inside him that it came to it. And that's what we're going to have to appeal to, people's humanity. And that is what is happening right now. People are seeing, even white folks are looking, okay, all right, look, 1 or 2 black folks is okay. 3 or 4 black folks is okay. But now I'm seeing it every week. I'm seeing it every week now. Okay, now, enough is enough. So when you start I think the answer to your question is happening, and I don't think we need to do anything but stay and educate the people that are around us. Don't be out trying to preach to folks. You come in with enough people around you to do it within your own little circle. It's happening in every circle you are, and you make everybody, everything. I'm getting called from white folks. Hey, how you doing? I ain't heard from them in years. I'm like, oh, they must be outside your neighborhood, huh? How you doing? And it's happening. We must encourage it. And it's not about black or white that's going on right now. It's about right and wrong. It's not an issue about retraining police officers. We've been saying the same thing with Rodney King. After every event, they say retraining, training. The only training that needs to be done is the people and the leaders need to be trained how not to hire racist police. That is the only training that needs to go on. You don't need to train a man how to right from wrong. What we're seeing is right from wrong, right and wrong. You don't need to train somebody. If you need to train an officer for how to do right from wrong, his ass don't need to be a policeman. That's what we need to focus on. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much, Miguel. That was hilarious. It was informative.
And it was right.
I'm going to...
Power to the people. I don't agree with burning down black businesses. I don't agree with burning down little mom and pop shops. This is what turned me off about it. When I saw a black man and a black lady who had worked their whole life at this shop and it was stolen everything. I don't have a problem with you going down on Rodeo Drive, running down the street with 900 Rolexes on your arm. Because eventually they're going to catch you. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with the looting of black businesses and little business mom and pop shops of any color who ain't got nothing to do with it. You out there burning down the lady in the man's shop and stealing their stuff, and they're out there in the protest. Now that I have a problem with.
Right. And
But police cars and police stations and DA's office, burn them to the ground. I'll send you money for some gasoline.
Oh my goodness.
Well, can I inject
Let's start a gasoline GoFundMe page.
Hold on. All right, so I'm gonna double back to comment on that at the very end. I'm gonna double back.
Yeah, you might want to put some ice on the phone.
Exactly. All right, man. I need a seatbelt. How do we educate others on what being a person of color in America is actually like, and keeping that experience top of mind for them?
Oh, that's a tough one. That is very difficult. I believe it's an ancient Native American saying that goes something along the lines of you can't judge a person unless you've lived his experiences or her experiences. And that's virtually impossible for a person to do every day with every interaction that he has, if he or she is a person of color, with people who are not, with their white friends. And we'll just for the sake of convenience in our discussion here, I'll use the binary, and my daughters have told me not to do that because they're mixed race people and Latinx people and Asian people and black people and white people. Our nation isn't this binary racial nation any longer, but for our convenience here. And I heard someone mention earlier, I challenge my white friends. It's very difficult to explain what your life experiences have been like if a person has not lived those. What we can try to do, and this is, and Ozzie can speak to this also, this is the problem solver in us lawyers coming out. What we can try to do is, in our little everyday interactions, engagements with one another, we can challenge one another where we see something happening that should not be accepted.
Yeah, a very difficult question. You know, I was thinking when you first asked the question how we make middle-aged schoolgirls and high school girls carry those baby dolls around so that they can know what it's like to take care of a child for a while. And I wish we could put white children in a black body for just a day to see what they go through. But I can tell you my experiences with it. My dad was Italian, so I'm light, olive-skinned white person, I think, and I've had experiences. But when I was at the legislature, my best friend up there was a young man named William McCurdy. I'm 54 years old. He's about 30. And we just clicked right away, and we hung out. And one of the first days we were up there, we were talking about getting our shirts done and laundry done. I said, there's a dry cleaners just around the corner. Now, when I walked into the dry cleaners, they were like, yes, sir, how can we help you? We take your shirts. We'll have them ready for you Thursday and blah, blah, blah. He walked in there 2 hours after me because I invited him to go over there. And as a black man, the first thing they said to him is, oh, the legislature must be in session. So he has to deal with things that I can't even imagine. We walked into a bar after it was probably around 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock after a legislative session. And I'm probably poisoning this young man, but I like to smoke cigars, and he comes and joins me every once in a while. And we walked into a cigar bar, and I'm just going to call them what they are. Racist hicks turned to us and said, oh, prom, it must be prom night. And I'd never been treated like that. And William pulled my hand, and he said, let me handle this, Oz. And he went over there and talked to the man, and after about 20 minutes, the guy was buying us around a drink. Because I'd never been treated like that before. My first reaction was to fight. But poor William, he has a brother who's been lynched in Georgia. He's dealt with this his whole life. And just watching that experience and watching what he has to go through every single day. My attaché, my secretary, got sick, and he volunteered to take her to the hospital because I was working on something. And when he got there, it was snowing in Carson City. He was walking her to the door, and they closed and locked the door on him because it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And he had to bang on the door to get this poor girl in there to get her. And he had to tell them afterwards, I'm a legislator. But then they saw a black man walking to a hospital emergency room at 2 o'clock in the morning. They closed and locked the door. I mean, you just have to talk to a black person, talk to someone of color, and you just learn about the things that they have to go through on a daily basis. And it sickens me. But yeah, I think you have to experience it with them. You have to be with them, talk to them, and learn from them. Because their experiences every day are completely different than any person who's white.
Because unless they're walked in our shoes, everything that we say to them won't really resonate with them. Even when we say it and they see it, they get to go home to something different. And it's only going to be, for them when they're around us or when they find themselves, in a situation where, someone is being discriminated against. And then the problem with that is if the number of people that's in their setting is a greater number than them, I'm not so sure they're going to speak up, even if they know it's wrong. Because, in some situations where there's families, I had a friend who said she was having a discussion in light of the George Floyd's death, and she's a white woman, and she said she found herself in a heated discussion with her grandson about it.
Let me jump in on that one. This is Kevin Speed. One place, and I'm thinking of this as a trial lawyer, a defense lawyer. One place, and you're right, Mrs. Jordan, you're absolutely correct. The interaction that your friend has with you is only a small slice of her day. It could be, an hour or an hour or two in a week of interactions with other people, a week of waking hour interactions. But one thing that I'm hopeful about, and I can't help returning to a hopeful place, being an African-American person about this country that we all live in and have raised our families in and served in a number of situations. One place where I remain hopeful in a scenario like you described is your friend is your friend, and I believe that from the way you described her and the way the passion with which you talk about your friendship with this woman, that she is a community person, a community-minded person who may one day be called upon to serve on a jury. And in that situation, if your interaction with this person is one where she says to herself while she's determining the guilt or innocence of what will most likely, we talked about this with Ozzie, what will and more than likely be a case involving an African-American defendant.
Hey, can I go back? Can I say something about what he just said?
Well, we were coming to you with the next question, Miguel. So
No. Okay, wait. No. I want to talk about what Kevin just said, because I think what Kevin just said is probably the most important thing that anybody said all night. What he just said is the most important thing anybody said all night. And I learned so much from what he just said. And what he just said will change and make a big difference in my life from this day forward. Because that is so important, and I never thought about it that way. You can change people just by how you interact with them. And you may not even think about the way you did something this way, change somebody. And I never thought about it. You're right. How many white folks I cussed out because they looked at me the wrong way and said the wrong thing? Now they go out and they on a jury the next day and they looking at that guy thinking about something you did. We can change so many people just from how we interact with them on a normal human basis. I think what he just said is so important. I just wanted to emphasize it, so keep going.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that, Miguel, and thank you, Kevin.
And now I'm not going to burn nothing down. I'm going to think about it.
Thank you. See, it's working already.
I'm going to go ahead and pose this question here. People, I'll frame it first. People all over the world are wanting to help Black people reach the goal of equality in America. Though we believe people have our best interest at heart, we have seen some missteps with Nancy Pelosi recently taking a knee wearing African-American garb, or African garb, I should say, and white actors in Hollywood creating videos claiming fault for the plight of Black people. Both showings were well-intentioned, but not well-received by the Black community. The question I pose to the panel, or Mr. Núñez first, actually, is how do we want or need our allies to help that are not Black?
Okay, first of all, and I'm not sure you're even going to be ready for my answer. I'd rather hear Kevin speak first. So I'll know how to speak. Because let me tell you what I feel about it. I think it's ignorant. I think anybody who had a problem with her on her knees wearing something trying to represent, what in the hell is wrong with Nancy Pelosi on her knees trying to show support for the Black cause? So what she got on that? Anybody who would have said that in my face, I would have spit on them. It makes no sense. It's the same thing. Ignorant Negroes messing up everything. They did the same thing. Do you know that the color purple didn't make a dime because ignorant niggas came talking about, oh, that movie this and that movie that. Oh, that movie. You can't please everybody. You got white people getting on their knees, showing support for your cause, and you want to complain about what they're wearing? Who the hell are you to complain about what they? You want to complain about what she had on? Nancy had a misstep. What was the other so-called misstep? What was the other so-called misstep?
Oh, the actors in Hollywood.
The white actors.
All of these white folks got together from, all of these white people got together from their heart and put out a video in support. And you got ignorant house Negroes sitting in the corner telling, why they do that? What's their purpose? What's their purpose? I don't agree with any of them. I think they make me sick. Anybody who comes to your support, instead of going out complaining about how they came to your support, tell me a misstep. Why don't you go to Nancy? Why don't you go to them on a personal level and try to explain to them? I hate when we have so many people out there supporting. Remember, when they were being attacked on that bridge by those dogs, there was white people being attacked by dogs. There are white people being beat up right now. And when we got people that are coming in to join the support, that's what the opposition wants you to do. They want you to attack those people for any little bitty ignorant thing. I saw that picture of Nancy. I didn't know that was a problem until you just said it.
It makes no difference to me what the Speaker of the House of Representatives was wearing when she took a knee for a photo op. That's not what concerns me the most about the business that Speaker Pelosi is conducting in Washington, D.C. at this time. What I'm more concerned about and what I would hope that everybody who is down with this struggle is concerned about is making sure that after they get up off their knees, they are going into their committee meetings and making sure that we have an effective, purpose-driven law that will pass the House of Representatives and pass the U.S. Senate and be presented to this president, hopefully the next one who is not this president, that will be signed into law that will govern the way that we treat one another and govern the way that law enforcement treats black people and brown people in the streets in America.
I think the only reason Congress is doing anything is because people are protesting in the streets. In Nevada, we're going to have a special session. It's inevitable. It was supposed to be on the coronavirus, but my prediction is that it'll be on the coronavirus and how we're going to address the issues that we have financially here, but we're also going to have a component regarding criminal justice reform. And the only reason we're having that special session is because people are protesting in the streets. Keep
Amen.
protesting. Keep letting your voice be heard. Don't take your foot off the gas. Keep it going for no other reason than to make these changes happen, because these statues wouldn't be coming down, and Nancy Pelosi wouldn't be on her knees, and Governor Sisolak wouldn't be calling a special session if you weren't, and we weren't, protesting in the streets. The last thing I want to say, because I'm going to jump off this call a little bit, is in 2022, the district attorney is up for re-election in Clark County, Nevada, and I'm calling right now for Kevin Speed to put his name in that because we need someone like Kevin Speed to lead this county. A man who knows what criminal justice reform is all about, who's been in the trenches for years, and he should be leading this county. So, Kevin, I'm calling on you to throw your name in there for Clark County DA.
I'll back you. I'll get every celebrity in Hollywood to back you.
I think with the young people talking, the young, kids out there, young people out protesting right along with our children, that for me, like Miguel said, that's where the change is going to come.